All right, now we have the body sewn together for the most part. We still have, here we have that, not really a seam, but it's part of the seam that will be hand sewn on, the guide there. We will just have to take this and sew it from here all the way up to there, and to the end of the neck. And after that, the hooves. My least favorite part. Now, you might look at this and take a look. I mean, like, wow, that looks really nasty. Well, that's the inside of a plush for you. Once you turn it inside out, it looks nice and pretty for the most part, and depending on such factors as the pattern and sewing deviation and everything else, and on and on. Of course, there's also the details. Once we turn this inside out, we can take our little pin at the seams where various furs of the minky have gone under and pop those out to help hide those seams. Obviously, the seams are a characteristic of the plush. You're going to have them, so there's no getting around that. But onward we go. Now let's take a look at those hooves. You'll see I already sewn one on here, and I have one pinned here. But let's actually take a closer look. I pinned this one the same as this one. Take a look here. So you'll see that I sewn on this side, as you can see from the pins. Now check out the alignment. It's not too bad, all things considering. The smaller the hoof is, the harder it will be to sew. Alright, now let's take a look at this hoof. I have the fur direction this way. It's up to you how you would like to sew your hoof. If you would like to sew it having the fur direction go this way and this way, or this way and this way, I prefer it going from here and then onward toward the inside of the body. That's my preference. Simply take the pins to align things here again. There we go. And pin across that, just like we did with the head. Now it will be a little bit of a struggle on those rounded edges, and when you actually have it under the foot, it will be a little bit of a pain perhaps. But I mean, that's up to you. If you decide you think you would be better off to hand sew it, no, that's pretty off. If you decide it would be better to hand sew it, or to put the pins perpendicular to the seams, that's up to you. My pinning is terrible. I'm trying to do this quickly for you. So that's up to you. But I just do the same. Just do the same with the other side. Pin it, align it up to the other side. Get that in there. Have a pin going over here, and over here. And use as many pins as you need. If you want to go the parallel route, but you want to have maybe 6 pins along here instead of 4, then that's fine too. Alright, let's finish up these hooves so we can start stuffing. Alright, getting close to stuffing your plush. Because this is a pony that has a little bit of weight on the head, a little bit of offset, a little top heavy right there. So what we do, of course, is we stick rocks or weights, poly pellets. And poly pellets may not be too heavy. I wouldn't recommend lead or radioactive materials though. So, okay. So, just take a few rocks. And these are clean rocks. If you want to be cheap, you can just grab rocks from the driveway or something. You live out in the country. Or if you just want to bust up rocks manually, that's an option. I wouldn't recommend that option. I'm so sorry if I went from being serious to a little crazy, but I like to have fun too. And then you'd roll it up to what we have right here. And the key, see, once we stick this in here, we are going to just roll this to a little bitty bun in a way. It doesn't have to be perfect. Once the stuffing goes in, it'll keep it in place. The bag just keeps the rocks from coming out. Just sticking it inside the leg there. Now, additionally, if you wanted to, you could take some polymaterial, polyplastic here, polywall type of material. And you can cut out little round hooves and stick them in the bottom to have a completely flat hoof. That is up to you. For my regular plushies, I do not do that. If they rely on that, if they only have like 2 legs or something, I would recommend a nice flat surface with weights inside of them. So once you have that, you begin stuffing. And if you have a larger plush, you may want to do the front hooves. This is a fairly small plush, as you can see. So I probably will just do the back hooves. Now we have the plush stuff. I would like to talk a little bit about this, and I'm going to take a moment to speak on pattern development here. If you notice, we actually stuffed this plush fairly firmly, fairly tightly. If you want to get the right shape and see exactly how the minky deforms on your pattern, you want to stuff fairly tightly. Now, how much stuffing you want to use is up to you. Keep in mind that if you start stuffing a little differently, it may alter the pattern, but the stuffing does affect the pattern. It will deform it. And that's why I would like to talk about this. But first, we have this bag here, a bag of polyfill. So that about this amount of polyfill went into this plush to give you an idea of just how much stuffing we are talking about. Now let's take a look. We see the legs here. Maybe we want these legs to be moved forward just a little bit. Obviously we would adjust this and move it forward just a little bit. Maybe we would like this to be angled up farther. Well, just angle this up just a little bit higher and see what kind of result we get. Trial and error. Maybe we do not want the neck angled quite like that. We would just change the angle, either lower it here or raise it here. And the head may take you a few times. As you can see, this is a little oblong this way. However, once stuffed, it stretches out quite a bit. And there is the gusset. So perhaps what we would want to do, extend that snout out, is extend this significantly or along with this, or we could just sew this as the 2 pieces on the side, as we did right along here, and get rid of this and just taper down this entire piece to a point from here to over here. Just experiment, change things around and see how they work out. There's no simple one-step solution. And take another note here. You see how the legs, maybe they're spread apart a little bit at the bottom there? Once you if you were to make the change to give this a little bit more here, You may actually find that once you add a little bit more here, the result may be that the legs are closer together down here. So you have to try to think of quite a number of things, and notice how narrow this is and how narrow it isn't quite underneath the belly. That almost forms a square from each of those points, and that is clearly not a square here. So that's a word about pattern development. Another suggestion, recommendation would be consistency. I may have already mentioned that, but I cannot mention that enough. So just keep in mind consistency. When you sew your patterns, stuff the patterns, try to be consistent, and therefore you will know how things turn out. If you're just developing a pattern, you're probably still going to have to step and repeat several times to get the shape that you actually want. All right. Thank you very much for watching. Next up will be hand sewing on the head and then the ears.